All right, welcome. I'm Ryan Barbera from our demand generation team here at Dotmatics. I'm pleased to get us started for today's webinar, AI-Ready Pharma R&D, creating an AI-ready foundation for your lab. Today's presentation will be recorded and sent out to registrants. Our featured speaker today is Dr. Daniel Ormsby, Director of Science and Technology at Dotmatics. Dan plays a key role in the development and implementation of data integration and visualization solutions across the global biotech sector. His expertise encompasses enhancing Dotmatics' chemistry toolkit with advanced molecular representations, AI, and machine learning methods, as well as providing direct support to clients. Having contributed significantly to the growth of Dotmatics and the development of algorithms for Vortex, Dan's expertise spans across various drug discovery tools and programming languages. Before I pass the virtual mic to Dan, I'll review our agenda. Dan is set to showcase Dotmatics Luma, our revolutionary new scientific data platform launched in October. Through a brief walkthrough, Dan will demystify Luma's potential, reviewing its current and future capabilities. Additionally, Dan will explore Dotmatics' vision for the integration of AI, addressing specific requirements and the 7 steps to becoming an AI-driven business. A key focus will be placed on the pivotal role of clean data, emphasizing its challenges and solutions. This discussion will lay the groundwork for Dan's exploration of powerful AI applications later in the presentation. Dan will also outline the strategic steps involved in predictive modeling and prescriptive analytics, offering insights into the future of data-driven decision-making in scientific research. This webinar is designed to be an interactive opportunity for you to familiarize yourself with Dotmatics Luma and AI readiness. So feel free to submit your question using the Q&A module below. Dan will be on standby to address your questions during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Now let's get started.
Hi, my name is Dan Ormsby. I've been working with Dotmatics since 2008 when I joined. It was a very small company. It's been on a journey. And our latest product we have released on the market is Luma. Luma has all types of features and functionality. I myself am an author of algorithms. I've written all kinds of interesting algorithms that work inside the Dotmatics software for clustering and substructure searching of molecules. I guess a lot of my work has been molecule based, and I'll come on to that at the end of this talk. Well, the main push of Luma initially isn't a specific niche, it's a much wider data capturing system. Really, it's being put together to answer the most difficult questions and deliver a data platform for scientists to control. It's built with the latest cloud technologies and can handle volume, complexity, and scale. As it says here, essentially infinite scale. I'm sure there'll be a physicist out there who'll say, but the photon of light cannot leave the screen and enter your eye instantaneously. Things will not scale infinitely. But practically, the cloud compute available means whatever challenge one of our customers have, there will be more cloud compute available than data that customer will be able to generate. These things do scale in a fascinating way. Dotmatics is now really a collection of software companies that have all come together. And all of these different arms, let's call them, of Dotmatics can feed their data into Luma. So Luma is going to become our core central integration point. So be you in Prism or Protein Metrics, the ambition is you'll be able to push data to and pull data back out from, as required, from Luma. Oh, and at the bottom, Luma Lab Connect is the automatic collection of data from instruments. So all manner of instruments across the lab can generate data, try to stop people using file systems and file shares to store data, try to encourage the centralization of this data into, well, the Luma platform as a place to have data adventures, to really collect everything. That's the real ambition here, and I'll give reasons why that's a good thing. As it says at the top, the ambition is to deliver a resilient data platform that scientists can control, that handles the volume and complexity of scientific data and the scalability. The system will scale to your smaller needs. And then for the larger organizations with robotics automatically generating experimental results, they can be collected automatically into Luma, and then out of Luma we can do things like visualization and querying and modeling and AI. I will give you the AI, my AI dreams at the end. So I do write. I've been writing neural network code recently. That's genuinely some of the most interesting things I've ever written. It's weird how quickly you can train these things. I'll come back to this. Luma also works directly with the existing customer systems, I should say, as well. So if you have a Dotmatics deployment today, it will stay as it is, that we can just optionally add in a Luma element to it. So we're really delivering the scientific tooling extensions with enhanced capabilities. So data can come in from, say, the Dotmatics ELN, from third-party systems, from Luma Lab Connect. And then Luma is allowing this, it's a low-code app building framework that can build data views on that data. It's going to be chemistry and sequence smart. It's going to understand the niches. There's an API layer, an open API layer for getting data in and getting data out. It is built. So one of the components it's built from is called Databricks. Databricks is a bundle of things itself, including Apache Spark and MLlib and Parquet for storage. So it is a collection of different softwares in itself, and it's on those we are constructing our stack, our platform for deployment to customers, and we're really solving the problems in the niche. We at Dotmatics understand how to handle sequences, we understand how to handle antibodies, we understand how to handle molecules. So making everything work within the right space for scientific data and formulation data. All the different types of scientific data. It's our ambition to get it captured into Luma and then present to the customers the applications relevant for them. It is a low-code SaaS platform, 100% cloud. So it's all going to be cloud-based. It is 100% cloud. 100% what you see, what you get. WYSIWYG. There's an example of a form builder on the right here, just to give you a preview of what it should look like. So clean form design where you can build forms to query your data. Modern looking. A whole toolbox full of UI components that you can pull together on the screen and ask questions of the data that you have collected, with some special scientific widgets for specific niches, for like depicting molecules, special scientific queries, presenting sequences, and all the apps being linked are linked to Luma models. And the queries are executed using the Luma API. So you can build views via the Luma API like the one on the screen here, an app against the thing, or you can build the public APIs. If you have existing components that can consume from web services, you'll be able to glue those in the same way. And the data or the data flow building these models is going into something called Lakehouse by Databricks. If you've heard of data lakes, that's the kind of feature that's being constructed when the data goes in. So here is a specific worked example for Luma for instrument data collection. So on the left-hand side, we have instruments. This represents our lab instruments. Some customers, have hundreds of instruments all generating data. The data is hoovered up by an agent. The agent is a little helper application that sits on those instrument computers, collecting files and sending them up to the server. The server API, I should say. This is stored in S3 in the raw store. So the raw store is S3, and it gets parsed with lambda functions. So the lambdas and S3 storage. These are both great examples of cloud computing, of scalability. There are no practical limits of how much data you can throw into S3. There are no practical limits of how many lambdas you can execute concurrently to process that data that you have sent in. If you're a small organization, you have a small S3 storage and a small number of lambdas executed. A big organization, more S3 storage and more lambdas get executed. But the performance is the scalability, and the performance is the thing. So the processing times are small when there are no practical queues in the way, because the lambdas can just fire off as many as you like at the same time. What's happening inside the lambda is it's taking the original file from the instrument that may be sort of illegible file, unreadable file, not in a common format, and turning it into something that's been parsed and is put into the unmodeled store. So in the unmodeled store, the output or an extraction of those original data is stored in a JSON string. And then it can optionally be sent through the data flows. These data flows are how we extract out of the data, and then put into a modeled store. And the model store is more like tables. It's more like a relational database. If you're familiar with Oracle, then the model data looks more like Oracle tables. And those can be connected to from our browser piece as well, and presented as tables there. The model data, you can construct queries, you can build user interfaces against it, but also the unmodeled data can be accessed as well through the data out services into these different frameworks, into these apps, let's call them. So in our app framework, as I showed on the last slide, you have the components you need to say draw a molecule, and in the Databricks service you have the components you need to say do a substructure search. So as one of the authors of the substructure searching code, I feel obliged to highlight it, but also sequence searching and extendability through Python, scientific data modeling, scientific smarts. That's a reasonable catch-all at the top there. So trying to get the science right within these well-tested platforms has been part of my, I guess, personal mission these last few dev cycles. To give an example of the low-code nature of a data extraction. It's low code. It's not no code, but it's low code. So here's an example of a raw data flow. So back in our, should I go back a slide? Yeah, back in our going from this kind of unmodeled store to the model store. What does it look like? What do you do? What transforms do you do here? Well, here's the data extracted from an Envision. So we've got the Envision data. It came in raw format. It's been turned here into this sort of unmodeled data, the JSON string here, and then we can optionally apply transforms and custom SQL here. We can pivot data or depivot data. We can store it into our raw data table, let's call it, because it looks more like a table. And out of the box, we maybe not obviously, but we are obviously putting in different common machine format extractors, so you won't need to write those yourself. But you might want to tweak the way bits of the of say pivoting or custom extraction is done. You may be more interested in some details of the raw data for the work that you do, different to other organizations. Here's why you need an ability to make some configuration changes to the flow of data from the original inbound data to the way that you store it in your mapped data into your data that looks like tables. Data doesn't have to come in from instruments. It can also come in from other sources. One of those sources is a dataset called Kemble, which is illustrated on the next slide. Kemble 32, the 32nd release of Kemble, is a collation of small molecule data plus any compounds they've been screened in. All of that data is released together as a database. It contains many tables joined together, and Luma can present those tables as a graphic to let us see graphically how those are joined together. But using AI, we can apply ChatGPT to the problem. My colleague Phil has provided a video, which I can play, where we can ask natural language questions of the data, like show compounds made by Pfizer with a molecular weight less than 500. And ChatGPT understands that schema and can give us a natural language answer for how to query that with a SQL query and give us the SQL. So the SQL is written directly by the AI, not by a human, and we can copy that SQL. We can use it as a starting point, or we can just run it directly. So again, without leaving Luma, we're going to the SQL queries interface. We can kick off the query here. We'll schedule a query, then run the query, and we'll get the hits back directly inside the web page. Using ChatGPT to write code or code snippets is very useful. They do make, well, in my experience, they make excellent starting points when you're looking to do something new. They're not always perfect, right? But it does save a bit of typing, if I'm honest, when I've used it myself for just to get started on something. And it does give, as you saw there and halfway through the video, a nice description of what it was, let's use the word thinking, as it was building the statement for us. So there's an example of a practical example of AI in flight in Luma. So overall here, what requirements we're solving for? We're going for this scalable elasticity in compute. We have customers all over the world, and if they all want to use a service exactly the same time, then it has to scale. It has to give them the performance that they expect. We're going for low code and for accessing the data set flexibly. With APIs to access everything. We're going for a modern UI to make it look clean and fresh. Having a modern user interface makes everyone use the software more effectively, and which therefore means access your valuable research data more effectively. Luma has to be open to integrate with everything. All these software systems will be connected into Luma. That's the ambition, to join it all together. As we can integrate those, we can integrate anything else, different laboratory instruments. And also, my favorite bit, some foundational AI, because when you've got clean data, you can do everything else. You can do your predictive modeling, your prescriptive analytics, your automated decision making. So let's just have a few minutes on AI to finish off this brief talk. From my Adventures in AI talk series, I've recycled these 7 steps. Clean data is 80 to 90% of the work of AI today. For the customers I work with, just getting the data clean and organized in the first place. This is why Luma is so important. If you haven't got clean data, you can't carry on. If you do have clean data, you can solve in a niche normally. You might get clean in screening data from a high throughput screening robot. You might get clean in compound registration, but clean data generally across the entire business, that's tough. And the dream is Luma's going to help everyone solve this problem. And when you have clean data, you can do reports, like an Excel sheet that shows you your instrument utilization rates. You can do ad hoc queries, like a form with elements on it for querying multiple different fields at the same time, looking for, say, promiscuity in a kinase panel screen. You can do data exploration and interactive visualization. One of the tools I worked on for a long time is called Vortex. It allows you to load large slices of data and really play with it, really make different plots appear and make them dance as you run filters to explore that data graphically. But then the parts I've been working on most recently are predictive modeling, prescriptive analytics, and dreaming of automated decision making. I'm going to touch on step 5 and 6 here briefly. If you've ever heard of a tokenizer or ChatGPT 3, here's the example from their website. It converts sentences into tokens. And then from the tokens, statistical relationships can be built. If you look at the sentence on the top, it's been coloured in on the bottom, and different words are converted to different tokens. The tokens are converted to different numbers. And then some of the numbers repeat. So here, mango appears 2 times. A silly example, but just showing what the tokenizer does to the sentence lets you get the beginnings of understanding of how things like ChatGPT can work. It's all about feature engineering is what it's called, where you feature engineer, in this case, sentences into an input a computer can understand. And computers are only really good with numbers, zeros and ones, really. So in my work, I work with molecules. So I write tokenizers for molecules. So my molecule, a molecule is presented here. It's tokenized and turned into fragments. And these tokens can be used in neural networks and in similarity queries. Here we see a carbon with something next to it. That's what the sort of little asterisks mean, is there twice. And those are, again, turn into numbers. And one of those numbers repeats here. It repeats on the other side as well. But those top 2 carbons are considered identical at that level in the tokenizer. So having numbers that repeat is the most important thing. When you apply the tokenizer to a long list of molecules and tell a neural network, here are the molecules who have got this result in this assay, you can build a model. And then you can apply the model. Here's a screen grab from Vortex, where the model has been applied to a testing set of compounds that were not seen when the model was being trained. We're just really validating what the model was like. And here neural networks are being used to really identify statistical relationships between the tokenized molecule and the performance that compound is predicted to have in a biochemical assay. So the neural network code here is trying to join together real data, directly off those instruments, along with the chemical structures are stored in chemical registration, and we give an error bars on the predictions to give us a clue to the the noisiness of the models. It actually builds an array of models and gives back an array of predictions. So you get these kind of error bars on the prediction. If you look at the top few compounds here, if you just look at, say, the ones predicted to be, so say these are all predicted to be active, and they really are on the right-hand side. These are predicted to be inactive, and they really are on the left-hand side. So there's a separation of the good and bad compounds happening. And that's the ambition of these neural network codes, to try to build a model that's useful. But these tokenizers aren't only useful in predictive modeling. They also can be used in prescriptive analytics. In prescriptive analytics, instead of asking a computer, will this molecule be active, it just throws ideas at you and your project team for what to do next. So the same tokenizer can be used. And here I have, on the do.dotmatics.net page is a public open web page where you can see an illustration of querying, in this case, 6,000 million compounds, 6 billion compounds, when you sketch a molecule and press run, or choose a sample query and press run. So here's the query on the left. When we run the query, here's the result on the right. It runs in 1 or 2 seconds. It literally takes 1 to 2 seconds to query 6,000 million compounds. and give back compounds similar to your query compound. So then I hope you have the imagination to join that together. So if you are in a tool like Browser, and in Browser you can imagine just reaching out to those purchasable spaces and looking for anything similar. And as you click on those compound IDs, it links out to the vendor information. This one's from MQ, a Hungarian compound collator. So that says $100 for 5 MIGs. Here's another vendor, Enamine. Enamine make compounds on demand. That's saying probably $163 for a MIG. You have to ask them for pricing because they literally make them on demand. But by joining these similar compounds into the neural network models to get the prediction, you can really do that prescriptive analytics and build software systems that throw ideas at project teams without them asking for them, which is that step 6. So that's where I'm imagining going. So I hope I've given you a flavor of Luma, what it is today, where it's going. The more data we collect, the easier AI becomes. That really is true. The more data you can reach and touch, the closer your AI dreams are, or the easier those dreams are to touch, the challenges of dealing with customer data. So it's time to open it up to questions. Good.
All right. Dan, looks like we've got one question here in the Q&A. You want to come off mute. We've got can it handle a data set with such as a table which has 100,000 columns and 50,000 rows? If so, how long would it take to get the data in?
I mean, such data sets are often quite sparse. I might be wrong, but those extra wide and tall data sets are often not that populated in the first place. I mean, it's one of these weird things. There aren't any practical scalability problems with Databricks, kind of designed for these things up front. I can't think of any practical examples I've done. The widest tables I've seen have been maybe 400 or 500 columns in some promiscuity screens in kinases. I mean, I've been working with things that are billions tall. But even then, I'm normally using particular, I guess, in-memory databases for those to sort of sidestep the performance issues for normal databases. I haven't got a hard answer for that one, but I could give it a try. I guess I'd have to see the practical problem to appreciate it more.
Well, if there are any lingering questions, you can always reach us at dotmatics.com. This was a great presentation. I hope everyone got a lot out of it, got their questions answered here live. And as always, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.